Welcome to Musings of an Earth Girl. I am your host, Laurel Bleadon-Maffei, and I'm so grateful for our time together. This podcast is designed to be a loving, sweet space where you can rest for a while. We'll be talking about snippets of life, we'll be talking about angels, we'll be talking about moments of inspiration that serve as catalysts to move our life forward. I'm so grateful for this time together. So sit back and get comfortable, and we'll see where this conversation takes us. Hello, beautiful souls. Laurel here, and I am really looking forward to our time together. I send you a warm hug. I send you love. I send you gratitude for allowing me the blessing and the privilege of spending some of your day with you, or some of the night or wee hours of the morning. So wherever you are in life in this moment, I am sending you love. And if we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And my favorite thing in the world is helping you remember who you are, helping you reconnect with your magic, and remember who you are as a divine being in human form. So this broadcast is infused with a lot of love for you. I come with a merry team of angels, and so just think of this broadcast as a warm hug for you, unless you are not into warm hugs, in which case you can think of this as a warm cup of cocoa, or by putting your feet up next to a nice warm fire, or eating a juicy ripe peach on a perfect summer day. So wherever you are in life, whatever season it is when you're listening to this, just know it is filled with so much love for you. And in this episode, I'm picking up from our last episode, where I am sharing with you how I had my first ever psychic experience. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, I'm going to give you the quick recap, but you'll want to go back and listen to that to get all the juicy details. Basically, I am not somebody who is open to my gifts since birth. And in the late 80s, I was in Los Angeles and working in the entertainment industry, and I wanted to make more money. And my solution for that was to go back to school, to go to Pepperdine University and get an MBA, because that's how I thought I could make more money. At the time, at Pepperdine, the first class you had to take for their MBA program was a class in human development, and I happened to take it with a professor who taught this from the perspective of your thoughts create your reality, law of attraction, and metaphysics, which were really odd concepts to me at the time. Again, this is the late 80s. This is before Oprah was a national phenomenon, before Super Soul Sunday, before Hay House was as big as it was. And I was not open to these concepts in the beginning. I actually thought he was a bit nutty. But over the semester, I started thawing. I started contemplating these concepts he was teaching us. He had us reading books about Hawaiian shamanism, and just my mind was stretching open to what was possible in this world. So the class culminated in a 2-day retreat. It may have been 2 or 3 days, I can't quite remember, but it was mandatory. So the entire class went on this retreat up near Camarillo and Santa Barbara at a beautiful place called Casa de Maria. And I didn't know what to expect, and I don't think anyone else did either. A thing to emphasize and to remember is this was not some cool, mystical life transformation class at Esalen. We hadn't signed up for a psychic development class. These were accountants and business people that were going for MBA programs. Meditation was not a mainstream concept back then. So here we all are at this beautiful retreat center, Casa de Maria, and we are sitting in this big conference room in a giant circle. And he starts teaching us concepts. So the first thing I remember him teaching us was meditation. I had never meditated before, I probably came with my preconceptions about it. So he taught us to meditate. He also taught us how to dowse using a pendulum. He taught us about kinesiology. So if you bring positive thoughts into your consciousness, how you actually respond with greater strength than if you bring negative thoughts into your consciousness. you will have a weaker response. All of these concepts were just so far beyond what I'd ever thought of before. And I'm going to tell you one really embarrassing story about myself. So there was this really cute guy in my class. And, I don't know, at that age, remember, I'm in my mid-20s. And I think any class I would have gone to, I would have found a cute guy to have a crush on, because that just was where I was in my development. And when our professor was teaching us how to meditate, he had us create energy balls in our hands, right? If you ever done that, if you haven't, what you can do is you rub your hands together for a few minutes. And then as you pull your hands apart, you can almost feel the energy pulsing between your hands. So there was this cute guy in my class, and we had our eyes closed in this meditative process. And I started conjuring up these energy balls in my hand. And I was flicking them over to the cute boy to see if maybe I could get him to be interested in me. It was a real abuse of my power. But I got that out of the way fast. And at one point, I kind of cracked my eye open, and my teacher was looking straight at me. And I thought, oh my God, he knows. He knows I'm using my powers for self-gain. But there's no way he knew unless he psychically knew, because I wasn't making any kind of action or doing an incantation. But that just always cracks me up that, of course, I'm a 25-year-old girl and I'm throwing energy balls at the cute boy to see if he'll ask me out. So beware of these powers. They are seductive. And they can be misused. Yes? Okay, so that's my embarrassing story about me and the cute boy. And he never did ask me out, and I don't think he ever even looked twice at me that way. And it's all good. So here we are in this class. And on the final day, he had us do a form of remote viewing. So what he was teaching us was how to gather psychic information about somebody who we didn't know. The method that he taught us was that we were going to partner up, and then our partner would give us the name, age, and location of an individual. And we would then go into meditation and bring back information about them to see if we could discern what was going on with them. So the first really cool thing that happened was, and there were probably 24 of us in the class, I think. And so our teacher said, all right, everybody, partner up. And in about 30 seconds later, he goes, okay. And we all go, okay. And this one guy who had struggled with the class the entire time says, what do you mean, okay? Nobody's picked partners yet. And we all looked at each other shocked, because what had happened without us even realizing it was when the instructor invited us to partner up with someone, we all just caught eyes with someone across the room and just subtly nodded. So in about 30 seconds, we just looked around, nodded, and we had picked our partners, except for the one guy who was struggling with these concepts. So that was the first thing. That kind of blew my mind that we were able to do that. So here's how the session would go. We would go into the meditation, and then our partner would give us the name, the age, and the location of the person. And we would project them on, if you can imagine, a black screen in your mind's eye. At the time, there was an Excedrin commercial that was very popular, and it would show a black silhouette against this kind of graph. And the Excedrin commercial, there would be these red pain points. So if somebody's knee hurt, there would be a red pain point in the knee. There would be, if they had a headache, there would be a red pain point in the head. And so that kind of became my archetype for what I was looking at. And we would scan down the body, and we would say to our partner, I feel like there's something going on in their head. And there were two responses our partner could give us. The first was, yes, proceed. The second was, I do not have that information. And the reason they would say, I do not have that information rather than no, is because we didn't know if between the time they last spoke to them and now, if something had developed. So the two responses we could receive were, yes, please go ahead, or I do not have that information. So in some ways, it's a game of hot and cold, right? It could be perceived that there was some leading happening in this meditation. That was what the intellectual part of me was saying. And we went and we did our first round with our partner, and 90% of the class were able to discern what was going on with the person. So had that been my only experience, I'm not sure I would have been completely sold, because there were some leading responses from our partner, right? If you go through the whole body and I'm like, I see something in the head, I don't have that at this time. I see something in the neck, I don't have that at this time. At some point, I'm going to hone in on the part of the body, right, that is having a challenge. That's what my intellect would say. But then I had my second experience, which is the one that blew the doors of my mind open, because nothing will ever make me believe that I didn't have this experience. And this is the one that I want to share with you. So it's my turn now to be the viewer. And my partner says to me, his name is Patton. He's 3 years old and he lives in Simi Valley. And if you want to play along with me, just take a breath and just conjure up Patton. He's 3 years old and he lives in Simi Valley. We'll see if any of you are profoundly psychic, even more than I am, if you get this. So here's what I see. On my screen, I project a picture, and this is the word that I heard in my mind, of a tow-headed boy. For those of you who are not familiar with the word tow-headed or the description tow-headed, it means blonde. I would never say that his nephew is tow-headed. I would say his nephew is blonde. But in my mind, I heard he's a tow-headed boy, and I'm thinking it's his nephew. So I start scanning down, and the first thing I become aware of is his eyes shoot out at me like laser beams, like the cones, like radar cones. And I say, his eyes, oh my God, his eyes. And my partner says, I do not have that information. And I'm feeling foolish, because anytime we use our psychic gifts, especially if we're not used to them, I don't know about you, but I feel like an idiot. I feel like I'm making this stuff up and I'm just going to get through this. So I see the laser beam eyes, and then I keep scanning down, and then I scan down, and then I get to his hands. And I see his hands are curled inwards. Like if you make your hands into a fist and then turn them towards your body. And I said, his hands, there's something wrong with his hands. And my partner says, I do not have this information. And I'm getting this strong feeling that this child, there's something profoundly wrong with this child. This child is a hot mess. This child is not properly developed. It's disfigured. There's something terribly wrong with this child. That's all I can tell you, is something was profound. Nothing was where it needed to be, and there was something terribly wrong with this child, this little boy. And my ego is now really mocking me. Oh, that's great. You're mutilating his nephew. He probably just has a skinned knee. Just get through this and we'll be over soon. And you'll never have to do this again. So I keep going. Okay. And then I get down to his legs. And again, I see the legs the feet are curled in and turned towards each other. Like he almost has club feet. And I say, his feet are curled in and he cannot walk on these feet. It's almost as if he's going to have to wear a brace to straighten out his feet. And of course, my partner says, I do not have that information at this time. Again, inner critic, mercilessly mocking me. And then I say, and then there's something on his left leg, to which, thank God, my partner goes, yes. So I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling silly. I feel like, I have no business doing this kind of work. And I come out of the meditation and my partner looks at me very sheepishly. And he says, I'm so sorry. I didn't have anyone else to bring forward. Patton is my golden retriever. Yeah. Patton was his golden retriever. And this is why my first impression was there is something terribly wrong with this little boy. He is disfigured, he is disformed. There is something terribly wrong with him because he is a dog. And so the eyes that were the laser beams shooting out, of course, looked differently because we see so differently than dogs do. And the hands curling in were curling in because they were paws, not hands. And same thing with his feet. Of course, his feet appeared to be misshapen, terribly misshapen to me, because they were paws. And yes, he did have something on his left leg. So this blew my mind. You see, my experience could not be attributed to my partner leading me to my answers. There was no way my partner pre-programmed me to have dog impressions overlaying what I thought to be a little boy. So in that moment, I knew I was psychic, which didn't match with any of the definitions I had about myself or about the world. And I didn't know what to do with that information. Again, this was not a metaphysical class that I had decided to go to. You know, if I had taken a remote viewing class at Esalen or Omega or someplace, and I had a really cool, awesome remote viewing experience, I would be thrilled and excited, but it would be within the realm of what I thought was possible. But in this class, I was looking to make more money. I wasn't looking to become psychic. I didn't even believe in psychic stuff. And here I had had this profound experience that no one could ever help me reason away. There's no legitimate way that I would have had the experience that I had except for these being psychic abilities. So that was my first ever psychic experience. And I remember driving home from the workshop, and this is what I was saying in my head. Oh my God, I'm psychic. And I didn't know how to hold this in consciousness. I didn't know what I was going to tell people. I didn't know what I'd say to my friends. I didn't know what I'd say to my family. Oh, hi, Mom. How was your weekend? Oh, it was great, Mom. You know what? I'm psychic. I mean, it didn't fit in any container that existed in my life. So when I'm mentoring people who are opening up to their gifts and abilities, I'm always very confident in letting them know that I believe that it is possible for them to develop their intuitive gifts. How come? Because I developed mine, and there was no indication in my 20s that this would be who I am. And I do think that we all have this ability to see beyond the five senses. In Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukav says that we are, as a species, we are evolving from a five-sensory being to a multisensory being. And I would offer up that my experience at that Pepperdine class was my first awareness of experiencing life as a multisensory being. And it was amazing. And I do have another really cool story to tell you about what happened after that when I went back to work the next day and started talking with one of my coworkers about my experience. And that's going to be the next episode. But I do want to just leave you with a little bit more. I don't want to sort of give you the idea that once I had my first ever psychic experience that I was blown wide open psychically, and now I was doing tarot readings for people and talking to dead people. That wasn't the case. If anything, it set me up for, a 15-year journey where I explored the New Age and explored metaphysics. I was fascinated by it. But I don't know that I thought that I had the kind of gifts that I am awakened to now. If anyone would have told me that one day I would be doing intuitive readings for people and talking to angels and channeling and helping other people open to their gifts, I would have thought you were crazy, because nowhere in my paradigm did that exist. So I don't know, there's something so precious about this experience. And, people come into our lives and they change the course of our lives and then they leave, right? So that's how I feel about this professor. He taught me for one semester and he changed the course of my life. That because he taught this class the way he did, he opened my consciousness and my awareness to what is possible through us. And it shifted the course of my life. And I also like to think that somewhere, as I was copying an attitude about this class, yes, especially in the early days, the early part of the semester, where I was kind of mocking everything in my head, like, oh, come on, your thoughts don't create your reality. I was resisting the whole thing. That somewhere my angels were giggling to themselves. They're like, oh, girlfriend, just you wait till you find out who you grow up to be. You're going to be shocked. Sometimes our destiny is not clear to us. So if you feel like there are still aspects of you to be discovered, there are. We get to be ever evolving beings in this life. And I hope for you there are still big, bold strokes for you to discover about who you are in a way that will delight you. In a way that will make you go, oh my God, I did not even know I could do this amazing thing. Whether it's learning to watercolor, whether it's learning to do stand-up paddleboarding, making really cool mala beads. I don't know, but there is this creative, organic life force in all of us. And sometimes it just needs that moment to shine through and help us remember who we are. And that was the experience that I had at Pepperdine with my first ever psychic experience. So in our next episode, I'm going to be sharing with you what happened when I went back to the office and started sharing with my coworker about my first ever psychic experience. And that's another cool story, because had what happened next not happened, I don't know that I would have had a long-lived love affair with the New Age. So this is the story I share with you in this moment. And in this moment, I celebrate the gifts that are within you too. The ones you're aware of, and maybe the ones you don't know about yet. But when they come through, when they see the light of day, you will be delighted in learning more about who you have come here to be. Until the next time we meet, you are a blessing and you are loved, and I look forward to meeting again soon. I send you love. Thank you, dear ones. Musings of an Earth Girl is brought to you by me, Laurel Bleadon-Maffei, and Illuminating Souls. I invite you to join me at illuminatingsouls.com, where you can learn more about the classes and services I offer, including angel readings, soul mentoring, and classes designed to inspire your spirit. You also can sign up for the Daily Inspiration email blast, where you'll receive an uplifting message from me each day by email, Monday through Friday. You can sign up for that at my homepage at Illuminating Souls. Thank you, dear one, for spending this time with me. You are why I do this work. You are why I've created this podcast, because I know that whenever our souls meet, when we meet in the land of love and light and inspiration, the world becomes a bit brighter. So thank you for who you are and the light you shine in this world. I am so deeply grateful for you. I send you love, I send you blessings, and I send you sparkles of magic.